Just trying to get everybody on. Hello, everyone. Hello. I survived coronavirus so far. Not quite myself yet, but definitely on the road to recovery. Doing much better.
Nice to hear that, Patti. How are you?
I'm doing much better, thank you. I caught the coronavirus, the Omicron variant, on New Year's Eve. I came home, I went to bed. I woke up, I was exhausted. I just turned around and went back to bed. I slept for about 7 days, but in that time period, I wasn't getting any nutrition and I wasn't getting any hydration. I guess from what I've been told and what I've been hearing, everyone's going to get the Omicron variant. It's a mild flu, for lack of a better term. For me, it was all sinuses, sinus headache, light sensitive, movement sensitive. So even if I moved my head, it just felt like my head was going to explode. I've probably coughed 15 times from New Year's to now. So this isn't for me. This isn't a chest battle. It's a sinus battle and exhaustion. And with that came dehydration. Other than that, I'm okay. So feeling much, much better. Starting to get the COVID out of my system so that I can regroup, reboot, reload, and move forward. But if you catch the Omicron variant, don't fear, don't get caught up in the hype. Went through my household. I could describe it as a flu. It affected all of us differently. Mine, like I said, was all sinus pressure and congestion and things of that nature, and exhaustion. For my son that got it, he was just completely exhausted and nauseated, dehydrated, and he had the most coughing out of everyone. But again, this wasn't necessarily a respiratory issue. And I don't want to gear the whole talk today about COVID. So forgive me. I'm doing much better. You can see I have, for the most part, my capacity back. I just feel not quite myself yet. I probably will be there in just a couple days, but I'm really hard on myself sometimes. So with that being said, let's continue moving forward. Let's talk about what's happening right now with COVID, just so everybody's on the same page. We are seeing an outbreak of the Omicron variant, as you guys well know. This is being deemed as a mild flu. Please take note that no one is being tested for the regular flu. So it's kind of all getting lumped together. Yes, I did lose my sense of smell and taste. It is slowly coming back. Some things that shouldn't smell like toxic garbage do. It's just weird. Just so you know, like if you, I did a natural shake. It's non-GMO. It's vegan. I mean, it's just as healthy as you could get. And it just tasted like toxic, like somebody put toxicity in there, like plastic and things that give off that smell that we don't like. So, hey, April, yes, you got 10% of your smell and taste back. So what we're going to see with this surge, if you will, you guys, is, from what I'm understanding, they're saying more than half the planet will get this. And then people will build up a natural immunity. And that's what's going to end up kicking COVID out of here. Is we're going to build a natural immunity to its little receptor things. So yeehaw, bye-bye COVID. Thanks for starting off my new year on a reality check. But with that all being said, things that we can watch out for. I know that AGLA had their installation cocktail thing this week. They are postponing that. I have a feeling that we're going to see the trade show in March get postponed. There's been talk of postponing those things just for a couple of months because of the surge that's coming through. Don't be shocked, you guys. Don't be shocked if for a brief minute, and I mean maybe 60 days, for this to go trickling through everywhere it's got to go. Us getting on a little bit of a, hey, everybody's sick, we're there if you guys haven't noticed. And they're telling hospital workers, if you have it, just go back to work. I mean, what I'm trying to say is everybody will probably get this. It is like a mild flu bug. Don't fear it, is what I'm trying to say. Yes, it has little tastes of all of the bad elements of COVID, but it's not like incapacitating people to the levels that we saw with the Delta variant and actual COVID. Okay. And I'll try to leave my statement at that. I just don't want you guys running scared or thinking we're going to go back on another lockdown. I don't foresee that happening. I don't foresee that happening. I know there's been a lot of questions to me about the new emotional support animal certifications and documentation. And this is what I'll say to you. Okay. Yes, we did get some tools that will help us, but we're not going to go running right now while we're still in the midst of a pandemic and go poking at the bear. Okay. As nicely as I could say this isn't the time to go attacking while we're still in the closing stages of this pandemic period. So we will address the new emotional support animal rules and regulations as they come about. But I would plan on seeing some more information coming about with the new ESA animal stuff. Probably next month, to be honest with you. We need to come up with a plan of action and approach it gingerly with kit gloves. We just don't want to be poking the bear in the eye, so to speak. So remember, in this business, it isn't a game of checkers to see who can get to the other side faster. It's a game of chess, and every move we need to make needs to be taken with precision and accuracy. We don't want to get involved in an ADA lawsuit if we don't need to. Okay. As far as qualifications on the new letters for you have new people that are qualifying, just so everybody understands, the way that the law was written regarding emotional support animals is the patient must be seeing the doctor for at least 30 days before the note is even written. So all those little companies we saw on Amazon and all that stuff giving the doctor's notes, and that's all going to end up going away. So I got a feeling we're going to see a lot more restrictions on emotional support animals. We're going to see pets come back into the picture as ESA is now becoming a little bit more strict and more difficult to get. So we'll see that happening. Anybody have questions or something they need me to address today, please let me know. I'm going to try to stay on here for the whole hour, but I don't know how winded I'm going to get. And it may happen. You never know.
I have a quick question. Now,
Sure.
the return of the deposit,
Yes.
you can subtract the past due rent from it now that past October 21. What is the situation there?
Hold on, I'm letting somebody else in. As far as your dispositions of security deposit, you cannot, hold on, I'm thinking and I'm picturing the law in my head really quick. You cannot charge for rents on that disposition of security deposit that happened during the protected period of the COVID pandemic. Okay. So starting October 1st, that protected period ended. So if they move out, as an example, in November and they owe October's rent, you could put the rent on the disposition of security deposit. You can't put it from March of 2020 through September 31st of 2021. Okay. Those rents have to be allocated through small claims court, and the disposition of security deposit isn't where you get that money back. Does that answer your question? So for going forward, for people that owe rents going forward and they're moving out of the property, you're most likely going to be able to do that disposition of security deposit and charge them on the dispo. The key is once they vacate, you most likely can put everything on the disposition of security deposit. Okay? Okay, I have 10% of my smell back. Oh, yay, April. Many of our tenants have acquired animals without alerting us. Yes, they have. We have let this slide for the past year or so. Yes. We are gearing up on rent increase notices on April 1st. What document should we include to start charging the pet fee and or pet rent? Here's what I can tell you, okay? Under Los Angeles City and under Los Angeles County moratorium, you cannot do evictions for unauthorized pets because of COVID or for unauthorized occupants due to COVID. So what they're saying is because COVID came in, you can't evict anybody or do anything, punish them for bringing in somebody to take them off the streets due to COVID. Same thing with the pet. Okay. So when the pandemic leaves, the pet has to leave, the unauthorized occupants have to leave. If they don't, then you can start that. So at this point, that date looks like April 1st. Okay. That could change. Okay. April Fool's Day would be the first business day after the protected period has now completely ended. And we'll see if that gets extended all with this new Omicron variant. From what they're seeing, it's not inundating and causing the troubles that they would most likely have. This is more like a mild case of a COVID flu, a flu Rona, if you will. Okay. So I hope that answers that question. And I saw another one come through, so let me go grab it. And yes, many of them have started. I wouldn't start doing anything with that until April 1st, as far as unauthorized pets and unauthorized occupants. And I'd check with me about mid-March just to make sure that we haven't gotten any more moratoriums or restrictions that would help protect them.
Are you talking about the whole state of California or just the county?
Yes, sir.
Of Los Angeles?
I'm talking about the whole state of California got a new law regarding emotional support animals. But because of the COVID pandemic, I don't want you guys to go poking, okay? Because there's rules in some of the moratoriums that allow unauthorized pets during the pandemic period.
No, I'm talking about the unauthorized occupant.
Correct. And unauthorized pets. Okay. So because of the COVID pandemic in Los Angeles County, you cannot currently do evictions for unauthorized pets or unauthorized occupants. Okay. Because of COVID. So with this new emotional support animal law that came into place, what I'm trying to say to you is now is not the time to implement those new laws or to figure out who's liar, pants on fire, for lack of a better way to say it, with having valid emotional support animal letters and protections. Those animals that may have been emotional support animals, we may see become pets very quickly. Okay? That's what I'm trying to tell you. But right now, while we're still under the pandemic, isn't the time to go poking people. It's the time to figure out what we're going to do. And you're right, April 1st is a great day to start that kind of stuff. So as we get closer to that date, we'll get more information on a plan of action for everyone. 3-day notices, rental assistance in LA County, non-COVID related. Are we back to the same process? 3-day notice in LA County, yes. In LA City, you cannot serve a notice for non-payment of rent. Okay. In LA County, you can serve a 3-day notice and then apply for the rental program. You can start eviction after 20 days. Back to disposition of security deposit. We're just going to call it a dispo for short. Does it include late fees owed? Yes, you can put late fees on a disposition of security deposit, but you cannot have late fees at all from March of 2020 through September 30th of 2021. You were not allowed to start charging late fees again until October of 2021. Okay? Hope you got that. Hi, Patti. Glad you're better. Skip pass-through changed January 1st from $361 to $283 per month. Thank you, Arlene, for letting us all know that. For anybody that uses the skip pass-through, that's where you get to put those fees that you pay back onto the tenant. They've changed as of January 1st of 2022 from $3.61 to $2.83. And that's per month. And you can pass those expenses through. You guys make sure you make the adjustments and the changes because we have a new amount there starting this month. I have a tenant that is not respecting someone else's space. This particular tenant has lived in the same building with no contract. He recently just moved to his own apartment with his own contract. If they're not respecting someone else's space, I'm sure there's something in their written rental agreement that talks about the right to quiet enjoyment. Okay. And I'd be more than happy, Hilda, to help you come up with what's happening versus your written contract. It's your written contract that will help enforce those rules. Okay. I don't know what you mean by they're not respecting their space. Are they knocking on their door and talking to them? Are they harassing them on their way to and from? Are they trying to be overzealous? Are they trying to date them? Help me understand what they're doing so that I can help you with the 3-day curable breach of covenant that they're in violation of their written rental contract because of. Okay. So I need to know what we're doing there. Does that make sense? I hope that clicked with you. Okay. So let me know, Hilda, what's going on so that I can help you pinpoint what it is we need to address. And please don't use names. Just call them tenant A, tenant B. Hi, Patti. Glad to hear you are doing better. Thank you. It was, I'm not going to lie to you guys. It was scary for a while. But my fear was because I was so severely dehydrated. Yeah, I know. You just want to sleep. All I did was sleep. And I guess that's your body fighting it. I was just exhausted. I got muscle cramps. The worst thing, you guys, is the dehydration. I mean, you know that you can do this, and if your knuckle stays up, you're dehydrated. But when you can do that on the whole back of your hand and the whole back of your hand stays up, that is a problem. Okay. That would be me. I'm very stubborn. So yes, I am doing better. Can I discuss increasing rents, timing, and amounts? Absolutely. Increasing rents. If you guys have not done a rent increase, you may be able to do one now. I don't have my actual cheat sheet with me regarding county versus city. As if you are governed by RSO, that is the Rent Stabilization Organization, mostly in LA city area, but has extended into LA County. There are parts of RSO now in San Pedro. Okay. So if you are governed by RSO and the Rent Stabilization Organization governs you, meaning you pay them skep fees, you know about skep fees, you're learning about all this stuff. You cannot do a rent increase until 60 days after the state of emergency expires. Okay. You cannot. For everywhere else, you're most likely able to do a rent increase. However, you don't want to go over 10% anywhere in the state of California. Okay? Because we're currently in a state of emergency that could be considered price gouging during a state of emergency, which is punishable by 6 months in jail and a $10,000 fine. I don't know about you guys, but it's not worth it. Okay? It's just not. So if you're under RSO, you cannot do a rent increase until 60 days after the state of emergency expires. If you're in LA County and you're not governed by RSO, you most likely can do a rent increase. If you're anywhere else, you most likely can do a rent increase. So exempt from San Diego. If If anybody here has anything in San Diego, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but you still can't do anything. Okay. Their moratorium is extremely restrictive. As far as timing and amounts, don't go over 10%. There is CPI generating calculators on various websites where you can just go type in your zip code and it'll tell you what the amount is that you can increase. I know that Fast Evictions has that on their website. And I believe I have it on mine too. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look. But you can figure out what the CPI is there if you're having trouble with that. For the most part, I'll tell you guys, it's about 3.6%. So 5% plus the CPI, you're looking at about 8.6%. And you want to do that once annually. That would be with a 30-day notice, unless you have Section 8. Section 8 requires sometimes a longer notice of rent increase. All of our rents are way under market rents. Okay, Valerie, let's talk about this, okay? Because I want you to take a deep breath with me. All of our rents are way under market rents. Now we have great tenants, but it's time. I understand. So start raising rents and do it ethically. Once annually is an ethical way to raise rents. AB 1482 says that you can raise rents up to twice annually. But what they don't tell you is you have to stay within that limit. Okay. So yes, you can raise rents twice annually, but it doesn't mean you can raise them 8.6% twice a year. It means you can raise it 8.6% for the year. But you could do two increases. So you could do the first increase at 3%. And you could do the second increase 6 months later or 4 months later or whatever you wanted to do and add the additional percentages. You cannot go over what the maximum is, okay? In my professional opinion, doing more than one rent increase annually is a bad business practice. Okay. And there are instances in our careers where we do use that and utilize that, but this isn't the market for that. We use that when the market is coming down and we're trying to keep tenants in there that are paying high dollar rents when the people that are coming in are paying low rent. And we're trying to retain the tenants that are there. That's when we want to be able to do smaller increases throughout the year and not a big increase all at once. Right now, because of supply and demand, you're able to ask for that higher rent and keep that tenant there. So that is going to change. We cannot keep going the way that we are going currently. The ceiling has to burst. The bubble's got to pop. You guys call it whatever you want to. It's just this statistically happens every 10 to 15 years in real estate in general across the country. Okay. Has nothing to do with your county or your city or your state. It happens across the country, across the nation. So we see real estate come in a high supply and demand, and then we see it crash where real estate values diminish considerably. I have a feeling that is coming. We've been talking about it for a long time. We know that it's on the route. It'll happen. It's gotta make a change somewhere. So once that happens, we'll have to change our perspective on how we're marketing our vacant units and what we're doing to retain the tenants that we already have in possession. Remember, flipping is expensive. So when you're in a downturn in the rental market and you are utilizing your concessions, meaning your incentives, like $500 off the first month's rent, or $500 moves you in on approved credit. Those are concessions or specials, rent specials, however you want to determine what verbiage you're going to use. We will see those start coming back into play as the market starts to crash and prices go down. We will see those concessions come back in. And it'll be very challenging for us to keep lowering our rents to keep tenants in there versus having that vacant to fill again. So buckle up, folks. Things are going to get interesting very quickly. I have no doubt. So I get that your tenants are under market value and now's the time to raise the rent. You have great tenants, raise the rent. Go raise the rent. If you're not under RSO, go ahead and go raise the rent. We're getting to the point where I don't see any extensions sitting there specifically on the entire state, having more protections for COVID. We'll see how it plays out, but I have a feeling this is coming to an end. Okay. But I feel a tad guilty, especially to the ones who have had the rental assistance program. I know they're struggling to pay, but rents are so low. You need to stop struggling with that. This is business. Rents in 2 years, it's fine. They had assistance from the government. The government actually paid people's rents. Some of us got forbearances on our mortgages. I mean, it's time to get back into the feeling of business as normal. Because if we, as landlords and as property managers, don't start taking those reins and saying, oh, I'm sorry, the protected period's ending. No, there's no more extensions. Oh, you're not going to be able to apply for free rent again. They're going to start being held accountable for their actions. And we have to cycle them back into what it was like BC, before COVID, because we're about to go AC, which is after COVID. And we need to just get back right into business as normal. Okay. We need to get back into that practice that new rents are due now. And we have moratoriums where there's extensions, especially in LA, where those period of rents, they have up to a year to start paying them back. So they have their own challenges. As far as the rest of the surrounding counties around LA, we should be back to business as normal in a very, very rapid fashion. So we need to start gearing ourselves back to remembering what it was like before COVID, BC, because we're about to go AC and we need to make sure that we're back to business as normal and we're handling things appropriately. We don't want to handle problems in a way that it is going to make us have more headaches than we need. Why bother? We had a great system prior to COVID for collecting rents and evicting people. We're going to go back to that system. So just be patient. I believe that's coming on April Fool's Day. Don't hold me to that though. Okay. Val, all of our rents are way too low on the markets. Yes, yes, yes. Go ahead and raise them. Raise them, raise them. I know you feel guilty, but don't. This is business, okay? The mortgage company doesn't feel guilty when they do something to you. So Biden won't let COVID end. I know, but you know what? We, the people, have had enough. So we'll see what happens. Do we issue rent increases on 4/1 of 2022 to collect in May, or do we just issue a 30 to 60 day increase prior to 4/1? You can do a rent increase now, Hilda, as long as you are not governed by RSO. Okay. And let me explain something to you. It is a 30-day notice of rent increase if you're increasing 10% or less. Anything that is 11% or more requires a 90-day notice. A 60-day notice of rent increase is gone now. It no longer exists. It has been removed from our arsenal. So now when it comes to a rent increase notice, we have two different notices. One is a 30-day and one is a 90-day. There is no more 60-day notice of rent increase. It is gone. So 10% or less is 30 days. 11% or more is a 90-day notice. And you can issue that notice now as long as you are not governed by RSO. Okay? Hope everybody got that. So you're asking me, you can do a rent increase right now if you're not governed by RSO to take effect 30 days from now or after the next rent is due. Why do I say that? Because And don't laugh at me, you guys. Today's like the 12th. So if you served a notice today, the day you serve it doesn't count it. And I may even have the day wrong. Just work with me. I'm blonde. Okay. So that means 30 days from now, that would be February 11th, roughly would be your 30 days. But rent has already been paid for the month of February. So if you increase today to do a rent increase of 10% or less, the increase wouldn't take effect until March 1st. Make sense? Because in February, the rent's already been paid. So it actually would go to March 1st. Okay. Big breath. As far as housing is key, if they don't approve my resident for assistance, what happens next if they're under LARSO? If they're not approving them for assistance, then they're denied from the program. I would contact my legal counsel. You're most likely going to be able to do an eviction. Yes, because if housing is key doesn't approve your tenant for assistance, it's probably because they don't qualify or there's some kind of fraudulent activity. You're welcome. So use that information and go run to your attorney with it, okay? And ask them. You've told us many times to wait until 6 months after COVID ends to gear up to give notice on April 1st. Yes, Val, I know, but hear me out now. We're allowed to unless it's under RSO. And it's been much better to err on the side of caution than to get tied up in all this COVID stuff. And yes, I hear you. And I would say give your notice on April 1st, because then you acted completely ethically. Your amount of exposure is extremely low. And them being able to say that you retaliated becomes very low. So yes, that is why I've told you to wait till April Fool's Day, so that you didn't possibly expose yourself to anything. After seeing what's going on in the legal world and getting my feet back wet with evictions and such, I realized that a lot of landlords are increasing the rent, and that doesn't seem to be where the battle is. The battle is the rent due. So because of COVID. So it's not necessarily a rent increase that's being challenged in the courts because of COVID at this time. It's just a better business practice for you to make sure you're completely out of the line of fire, the line of sight. It's just to make sure you're erring on the side of caution. Kern County rentals. Yes, Val, you can do rent increases now. You really can. From Karen, where do I find out if I'm under RSO? That would be the Rent Stabilization Organization. There's actually a website for that, and they will let you know by the address. You're in Compton, LA County. You're probably not under RSO. You'd be having to pay them SCEP fees and fees monthly. Or annually, I apologize, annually. RSO pays annually. And that's why people have those SCEP fees, and they're passing through that expense of what it costs them to have the permit to do business in the Rent Stabilization Organization. That's what the RSO is. Okay. You would know if you had RSO. Has anyone received a payment through rent relief after a tenant recertification? April, I know you're on here. This one's for you. Hi, has anyone received a payment through rent relief after a tenant recertification? My tenant recertified in October and we still don't have a worker. I applied as well in October and I don't have any changes in my portal. I will tell you guys that it is taking between 3 and 6 months to get paid once you reapply again. That I can't answer. April, are you available right now?
Yeah, Patty, I'm here.
Yay! Can you help us? How much money have you collected roughly since the beginning of the pandemic in funds issued by the government through various programs?
Almost 300,000.
$300,000. Okay, so with that being said, I'm sure it wasn't like $100,000 3 times. I'm sure you've had quite a few cases that you've been dealing with.
Yeah.
Can you help Diana understand this process?
So I haven't received payment yet, but I have received approvals. Now, the payments, they send you an email saying it's going to take 10 to 14 days. It's actually taken 30 to 60 days to receive those payments. So I was just on the phone with them yesterday. I have people that do not have case managers yet either. And I think it's because a lot of those people were out due to COVID and because of the holidays. So what
Makes
she
sense.
told me is they're backlogged, and the people that receive those emails that say 10 to 14 days you're going to receive a payment is going to turn into a 60-day turnaround.
Okay. And that makes total sense because how could they can't. They just can't.
So you're going to start receiving approvals, but the money is just going to take longer.
Okay.
After you receive the approval, April, how long after that they usually disperse the money?
I've been receiving, and this is just in general, not recertifications, but I receive it within 30 days. But I'm just not having any luck recently. I just got notification today that I'm getting another $7,000 tomorrow, and I've been waiting on that for 5 months.
Okay. 5 months.
Yeah, that's a recert as well. So it's just it's a waiting game, you guys. The only thing I can tell you is if they are putting non-responsive, more than likely they were denied or they didn't send in paperwork that was the required documents. So if you're waiting to evict those people, then just submit your eviction because they're not going to give you any information if it was denied. It just says non-responsive. I would just print that paperwork out, take it to your attorney, tell them they're non-responsive, which means they're not cooperating.
Which means they're most likely going to be able to start an eviction based on the fact that they're not complying with the government assistance.
Yes, and that's a requirement for them not to get evicted is they're supposed to participate in the program just like we're supposed to participate. So that's all I was told by them is if it's non-responsive, it means they're not cooperating. And just to go ahead and, submit for eviction.
And we're starting to see more of the tenants that may have manipulated the system now that we're coming towards the ending of this pandemic, where they keep saying, oh, I applied, oh, I did this, oh, I did this, oh, I did this. And as the landlord starts looking, no, they haven't. And as they press the issue, no, they're not participating. They're a LLPOF, which we call liar, liar, pants on fire. And it's that particular tenant that is allowing us to find out that, hey, they're just sitting here. Those are the people we need to start the evictions on. And I'll tell you guys this, we're actually seeing tenants surrender premises once evictions get started rather than going through the process and fighting this because they know they were a liar, liar, pants on fire. So don't fear it. Okay. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Just don't fear it. I'm sorry, April. I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're fine. I also wanted to let everybody know to go ahead. Sorry, that's our fax machine. To go ahead and go through your accounts and make sure you have the proof of ownership, your W-9s and everything, because I learned that I submitted this information, but I have to resubmit it because it somehow disappeared from the portal. So that is going to create delays for processing your application and your payments.
I have a question, April.
Mm-hmm.
Tony's a really good friend of mine on here, and she currently has rentals that are ready to go up in the unincorporated area of LA County and in East LA with RSO. But she's completely updated her apartments. She's given them new faces. She's done a great job putting in new appliance, upgrading. Don't even get me started. Mm-hmm. She just doesn't know what her current rental market value is.
Oh.
So I don't have access to the multiple listing service in that area. Otherwise, I would be able to look that up for her. Can you see everything that she's offering? Does anybody have any tips or tricks that currently has property available in East LA under RSO and also in the unincorporated area, LA County? She used to rent it for $1,200 a month with all utilities included and appliances, washer, dryer, portable
Oh, wow.
stainless microwave, 24-inch stove, 24-inch stainless fridge with an ice maker. But now because of RSO, they will have to pay all their own utilities, and I will remove the microwave and washer dryer. So what should I rent it for now? Any help would be helpful. She's looking for rental rates. Is anybody in that area with rental rates based on square footage that could help her? I'm asking. If not, Tony, I will go look them up for you.
You know, Patty, I check Zillow for rent and also apartments.com for rent in that area. See what it's
Yeah.
going for.
Okay, so Zillow and apartments.com still seem to be the go-tos, right?
Right.
Okay.
I have some of my property managers visit the nearby apartment complexes to see what they're offering and if it's similar to ours. And then they provide a report of their findings, and then that's kind of, we haven't done that in a while because of COVID. They just making phone calls, but that's another thing she can do.
Secret shopping. Yes. Go peek over the fence and see what your neighbors are doing. That's what we're recommending. All right. I'm gearing up for April increase announcements, but good to know I do not need to wait. I want to let the tenants understand that everything on my side has increased. Taxes, utilities, trash, and sir. You don't need to extend that. Val, I love you. Hold on. So I feel better about raising their rents. Some tenants have been shocked after a rent raise after 3 years because they've been good tenants and have not asked for much. And that's what you need to tell them. I haven't given you a rent increase because you guys have been great tenants, but unfortunately the cost of doing business has gone up. So I have no choice. Make sense? It's a great sense of verbiage right there. Search Zillow rentals. Thank you, Tony. Patty, do you still recommend fast evictions to start the eviction for a property in Palmdale? Sure. See, you guys are going to ask me all the time, who should I use for my evictions? Well, it depends. What are you trying to accomplish with your eviction? Okay. Do you need somebody to hold your hand through the entire process and explain to you every little step and every little hiccup? Because if that's what you want and that's the level of customer service that you're looking for, then I would suggest you go to a high dollar attorney. Okay. Because they're going to hold your hand through the whole process and you're going to pay accordingly for that. For somebody that's not holding your hand through the whole process and you kind of go, oh, and then they tell you, okay, they didn't file an answer. We're going to do this, this, and this. And you're like, okay. And you don't need every little step of the eviction process explained to you, then you could use somebody that goes through the motions like fast eviction service or something along those lines. How do I say this? I used the most expensive attorney out there for over a decade. That would be Kimball Tyree in St. John. Okay. One day I was at a trade show and I bumped into fast evictions, and what they said to me made sense. And it clicked in my brain. And I asked myself right then and there, Patty, what are you paying for? You don't need that level of service. You have an idea of how an eviction works. What are you doing? Okay. So it just has to go with what you're most comfortable with. And what was said to me that clicked, and I'll repeat it so maybe it clicks with you, goes like this. It doesn't matter which legal counsel you use to start a case because they all fill out the same paperwork. Okay. So if they're all filling out this same exact piece of paper, you just need to determine who you want to put your money with. Okay. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So I used the most expensive firm for 10 years of my career. And then I used fast eviction service for another 10 years before I left the industry as a regional manager and went to work for them so I could get a better understanding of how the law worked. Because let's face it, for us, that's a big challenge in our industry of understanding what the rules are and what the repercussions are, and then you hear every once in a while an attorney will make a comment about sanctions and you're like, oh, okay, whatever that is. Well, you guys need to understand that's when the court fines you for not doing something. That's a sanction. Ouch, we don't want those. So I wanted to learn more about what they were talking about. And that's why I left that part of the industry and got involved in the legal side of things. So I had a better understanding of how it flowed and how it worked. So there you go. Two important items about evictions. One, get them out only. Get them out only. It may cost more to move, get a judgment, and place a bad mark on their credit. But step 2 is more important to get into collections. So I get what you're saying, Val. Number 1, stop the bleeding. Get them out. That's the easiest, the quickest, and the fastest. You can always go back and negotiate for the money that's owed to you at a later date. You can always sue in small claims at a later date. So if leaving the money alone for the time being and going after possession might be your better business practice if you're currently involved in an eviction, and then go after the money later. If you have a written contract with them, your statute of limitations should be 4 years. All right. You guys have helped me last almost the whole hour. So I'm actually very happy about that. And I can't thank you enough. Does anybody have anything else they want to discuss? And then I'm doing a webinar for AGLA next week. It will not be affected with our widgets way. I'm going to, over the next 2 to 3 weeks, come up with a plan of action and sit with legal counsel regarding emotional support animals and have a better plan for us about the Marchish time period. In other words, right now isn't the time to do it, but now is the time to come up with a business practice, a plan of action, how we're going to fill in all the gaps and break up all those little things we need to be very concerned about. So be patient with me. I get it. I'm a big advocate on ESA animals. I've taught it for many, many years now, and this is what I've been waiting for. Okay. So I want to make sure that when I have a plan of action for you, it's something that I would implement in my own business and be extremely comfortable with. So give me a little bit of time here. Okay. Like I said, this is the ADA. We don't want to go poking the bear in the eye. It's not going to be pretty. Anybody have anything else that they want to talk about or discuss before I end this? And thank you guys all for joining me and for bearing with me while I fought through COVID. It's kind of blurry. Thank you. I feel so much better. And just so everyone knows, I'm no longer at the Brennan firm. They've done a little bit of restructuring there while I was out. So I am free again until I land wherever I'm headed next. And we'll figure that out as it comes. I do know that AGLA's trade show with Apartment Investors Club in March is going to be moved to May. But it's coming, you guys. This Omicron caused us a little bit of a hiccup. I'm totally fine with it. Don't get discouraged. We're gonna get back to business as normal. And AC and BC won't be about Christ. It'll be about COVID. Before COVID, after COVID, AC, BC, hey. But we're getting there, you guys. For the most part of you that are outside of LA County, go raise your rents. If you're outside LA County, go raise your rents. I don't see the issues with it that we saw previously. Thank you, Hilda, for giving everybody that Happy New Year. We all need that. We all need a new, fresh start for the new year. Everybody be safe. Stay healthy. Don't fear this Omicron variant. From what I understand, half the planet is going to get it. And what that'll do is it'll build up the natural immunity for COVID and help kick COVID out of here. And I'm all for that. COVID's got to go. I'm done with it. I've had enough. I'm tired of hearing COVID as an excuse for anything anymore. Yeah. So hopefully we start to get things back into business as normal. I will say this year was one of the low years for new laws to hit us. And in this industry, I figured out that every other year is a very heavily hitted year. So I will start watching what's going to hit us in January of 2023 here in the next 6 months or so, just to see. We get 3 or 4 laws one year, and then the next year we get about 30. And it seems to happen that way statistically. 2022, we got about 4 new laws. So it's next year that we'll see the big inundation. And like I said, not anything to panic, freak out about, nothing that we need to really go deal with. There is a new packet regarding mold and mold disclosures for all new incoming residents. Existing tenants should have the new mold disclosure packet. So there is new mold disclosures that we need to be implementing as soon as right now. Okay. But as far as the other little things that changed, this is one of those years where we didn't have a big mass new law change. Okay. So this is the quiet year. It's next year we got to watch out for. All right. Anybody have anything else? Or I'm going to say, let's put an end to this. I'm going to go hydrate some more. And thank you guys. I'm only able to do this because of you. And I love the fact that we can all talk to each other and we're not alone. And, we have this whole support staff outside of our everyday operations, and we will continue to persevere on this. You watch. We will. So you guys have a great week. If you need me, you know how to hunt me down. I will be live with Agla next week. It won't affect us. So we'll be back here with Wednesdays with Widget. And we'll go forward from there. You guys have a great week. Thank you. Stay healthy and please keep hydrated. That was my biggest downfall. All right. Thanks, you guys.